welcome to day 2 of this event where we are moving through understanding and loving ourselves enough to really feel and listen to our own fear and our own judgment, and learning what it takes to alchemize and transmute those feelings. So, not ignoring them, not suppressing them, but transforming them into a greater understanding and a greater love of you, first of all, because that is what it's going to take to then be able to, overflow that cup of love and understanding out into the world around you. So, the concept we're going with today, for those of you that would be on a page like Cultivate Soul Deep Happiness, which is my Facebook group, or following a page like Wholistic Vitality, I'm assuming that you would have come across the idea before that what we see in the outside world, now this could be in your family, in your partner, in your children, at your workplace, with your colleagues, or watching the news or looking at the world around you, anything sort of outside of your own experience, what's going on outside of you is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. If that's not a concept that you've come across before, then today might be pretty wacky, but you're here for a reason, so join me anyway. If this idea isn't new to you, a lot of us have, I first came across this idea when I was probably about 20 years old. And just because you know something doesn't mean you're always able to apply it. And yesterday we talked about what happens in the brain when we're afraid. We come into that survival brain. And in that place, we're very, very focused on right now. We're very, very focused on the problem. And we're not really using all of our enlightened knowledge. We're kind of focused on surviving. So we can know something, but we can simultaneously forget to use that knowing. It's very, very common. Love yourself. We're all human. We're all works in progress. So what I want to talk about today is just sort of on the lead in. It's kind of just the segue from yesterday's session to today, where I want you to really understand that people, well, it's an invitation to see it in a different way, I should say, that everyone who's in fear, most people that are afraid, feel that people that have the opposite opinion to them, that they're dangerous. So people who don't agree are dangerous. So, yesterday I just used the masks as an example, but whatever, we'll just use that as an example. So if you're feeling like the greatest service you can do to your local community and to humankind is to wear your mask, you look out at people that have the opposite point of view and you think they're dangerous, like they're the reason why there's a problem, they're to blame, and it's scary, and there's a lot of judgment and a lot of fear, and the idea that people with the opposite opinion are dangerous. Now, if we flip that around, and there are people on planet Earth right now that feel that not wearing a mask is standing for freedom, sovereignty, human rights, they have their own opinion, and they look at people wearing the masks and they think that that behavior is dangerous. They see it as following a line of following a belief system that they don't believe in, and they're honestly, their fear is if everyone does that, we will be kind of corralled like animals in an abattoir, and we will lose what we know of as human rights. So both sets of people are afraid for humanity. Both sets of people, when they're in that I say limited, but sort of less evolved, fearful survival part of their brain, feel that people with the opposite opinion are dangerous. Now, I'm not encouraging you to change your opinion. You're allowed to have your perspective, but I'm just inviting you to see it's very easy to decide that people with opposite points of view are ignorant, but everyone feels that their opinion, everyone develops their opinion based on information that they find reputable. And the standard position is to look at the people with the opposite position and think, well, they're basing their opinion on something that's baseless, ridiculous, or irreputable sources. But from everyone's perspective, they're right. And this is where we can create a lot of extra unnecessary damage beyond whatever damage you think is happening from mask or not mask, to use that example, but a lot of extra damage in terms of polarization and judgment. And there's some really nasty stuff going on at the moment that does not have to be going on if all of us had our perspective and had our opinion but took it into a higher place of love. It is possible to disagree with each other, but to approach it from a perspective, like to reference a biblical example, there's that story of Christ on the cross, and he's having obviously a very awful time. But as a depiction of an enlightened being, he says in that moment, according to the Bible, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. So, what I take from that story is it is possible to see, like on two sides of a war. Yes, both sides are listening to the propaganda, if you want to say that, of their own government, or both people are listening to the opinions of their side of things. Both sets of people think they're right. Both sets of people are fighting for what they feel is really valuable. And so when we come out of this polarization, if we reference that example, it's like, can we see that? I mean, just imagine if everyone of all the different opinions all around planet Earth had a moment of just going, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. If we had a softness and a gentleness and a loving, compassionate attitude, what would happen? What would happen? There'd be a lot less fighting, and there probably would be greater immunity and greater health. But that's just my opinion, and you don't have to share it. But I just wanted to kind of finish that off from yesterday. It's just about understanding that everyone is believing what they believe based on the information they find reputable. And I invite you just to see that in yourself and have the human understanding that everyone with all the different opinions are doing the same thing. They're having the same experience of as you, from a different angle. And for me, on an energetic level, that changes things. It brings me out of the part of my brain that wants to fight for my opinion. So, coming back to the purpose of today's session, I want to reference that whole conversation and anything that gets you uptight at the moment, anything that triggers you, the things that are causing fear, judgment, hatred, if you're feeling that, the things that create tension. If you want to step into the sovereignty of your own personal power and see today as an opportunity to cultivate soul deep happiness, which every day has that invitation, if you want to say yes, the intensity of your own dissatisfaction, or the intensity of your own kind of lost my words there. The intensity of your dissatisfaction is one of the greatest experiences. It has the capacity to jog awake your own empowerment. And this is where I do a lot of reframing in my work around, what is anxiety? What is depression? What is stress? It's feedback that something needs to change. It's innate wisdom in your body opening you up to the invitation to see things differently. And so I want to be really bold and suggest that if you're very triggered by what's going on right now, that intensity can be a wake up in and of itself. So what we're going to do today is have a look at how you can use this for your own, cultivating your own understanding and your own self-love. I want to just read you a quote which really called to me today. If you're new to the work of Richard Rudd, then he's pretty amazing. So this is a book, it's quite a book that I'm reading at the moment. So the Gene Keys, Embracing Your Higher Purpose. So this is something that's come out of the I Ching and out of human design. And I find the Gene Keys absolutely such an amazing insight into the human experience. And there's a quote that I want to read you from Gene Key 44. And here, this is the quote. The current state of our planet cannot be fixed from the top down. If a program is misfiring in such a huge and complex manner, you have to fix it at the grassroots level. You have to reset the basic components, which are the individuals, followed next by relationships. Now, this is relevant because in all of my work leading up to now, right now, to me, I've been describing it as a low tide moment. So all the stuff that you normally don't have to look at because the water's high and you're busy and you're doing stuff is right there to be seen. If there's pollution on the bottom of your life sand, you're seeing it at the moment. The relationships that aren't working, you're seeing it. If you feel unresourced as a parent, it's right in your face. Like there's a lot of things at the moment that are not able to be covered up by life's normal busyness. And this gives us an amazing opportunity to look at how we are living and how we're managing ourselves. So at the grassroots level, what we see outside of us is a reflection going on inside of you. Now, this would be easier if I was able to speak to all of you one-on-one, because then I would be able to facilitate this awakening in a much more profound way. So I have to be general because of the way that we're working. And if you ever want to work, if you want to do this one-on-one, I'm absolutely available for it. And right now is a perfect and beautiful time for this work because everything's so activated. But in a general way, let's imagine what you're seeing in the world. One of the things that I've seen really dramatically is a whole lot of nasty judgment going on when I pop on social media and the nasty comments and all of that. So in order to utilize today's lesson, what I'm saying is, okay, I'm seeing judgment out there, nasty judgment. How am I judging me? How am I nastily judging me? And if I'm very, very real with that, and I ask myself that question, I can see that nasty judgment going on inside of me with my own critiquing. Yes, it has improved dramatically over the last, 30 years, but I can see it in there. Now, once I started noticing this and I started journaling and doing that work myself, fascinatingly or not fascinatingly, if you're into these concepts, I go onto social media and now I'm seeing a lot of love. I'm seeing a lot of support. I see posts, and if I dare to read the comment thread, I'm seeing a probably 5 or 10% polarity, whereas it used to be like 99% everyone arguing. So I'm having a different experience in my outer world because I've really looked at my own judgment. So I hope that makes sense. So if you're seeing in the outside world behavior that you consider irresponsible, so you're looking out at the world and you're seeing that's so irresponsible, or maybe you're seeing selfishness, right? That behavior isn't caring about other people. So I invite you to take this inside, and this is very, very confronting, and I suggest that you do it with a journal. So it's just between you, and you don't have to worry about being judged by anyone else. But look out there and and ask yourself the question, how am I not caring about me? How am I doing what I'm seeing out there? How am I doing this to me? How am I harming me? And you will begin to see threads of what you're seeing out there that is triggering you and upsetting you. You will see threads of it deep inside how you are doing this to you. And this is deep. This is a deep invitation. And it's not easy to admit these things to yourself, but it's really powerful. I'm going to do one more. You might look out, like I said before, there's a lot of people looking out into the world and seeing other people's behavior as dangerous, and they're hating them for it, and they're trolling them for it, and do you know what I mean? They're really seeing it. So that word dangerous. If you come inside yourself, if that's you, and you go, what am I doing to myself that's dangerous? And you might go, oh, I'm still smoking. I'm, you know, I'm doing this, which I know isn't good for my health. I'm doing that, which I know does this. Do you know what I mean? There's inner wisdom in there when we ask the right questions. And I'm not saying you need to go and confess. I'm just saying when we open it up, the fractal pattern that is you and the brilliance of your energy, it's very, very difficult for that inner light to shine through layers of dishonesty, inner dishonesty. I'm not talking about what comes out of your mouth to other people, and through layers of distortion where we truly believe that the outside world is the issue. So step 2 of this process, if you're still with me, is looking at how these patterns really play out in your relationship. Thank you so much, Deb, for being here and giving me some feedback in the comments. That's beautiful. And Deb's raised drinking. So it's like looking at her relationship with drinking and her own, I mean, she's not used the words in there, but maybe her own judgment of that or her own sensation of that, and seeing that inner experience as something that she's judging in the outside world. And I really salute your bravery. And this is not me saying alcohol is bad. This, like, everyone gets to have, if when we wholeheartedly believe that what we're doing is good, it doesn't come up in a process like this. So I think for me, meditation is a gift I give myself every morning. If I read something that said meditation's bad for your health, none of me would be triggered at whatsoever. I would be like, good on you for your perspective. I'm so deeply comfortable with mine. So it's like when you get triggered by something, it's not necessarily what's being said, it's your own inner experience of that. So how do we then take this out into our relationship? So going back on that Gene Keys quote, we fix things at the grassroots level from an individual. So the individual component, it's so much easier in your own. And when you identify these things, by the way, the purpose of it is to love yourself. The person that you can change is you. The person that you can uplift is you. So when you see these patterns, if you can love yourself enough to cultivate understanding and cultivate awareness, that's an amazing gift to the fractal pattern that's you. And the next step is that translates outwards. So over the last 16 years of running Holistic Vitality, I've had many clients I've worked with one-on-one that want to change their partner, or they want to change their family, or they want to change their boss or their workplace or their direct reports. And this never really works. If it works, it's 1% of the time. What creates the change is when we have an inner shift, when we do this inner work. What am I seeing outside of me? How does that thread, even if the thread's tiny, to what I am doing to myself? And when we stop trying to change other people and we pour just a fraction of some of that energy into our own growth and development, the beautiful thing that I've seen over and over and over in every situation where people have been committed to this process is the family dynamics shift, the work dynamics shift, the relationships in teams shift. My experience of the outside world and what I was experiencing on social media shifted when I did what I did. So when we shift inside, the outside changes. So coming back to what you get triggered with in the outside world, maybe let's imagine that you're watching I don't know, a government debate, and you're hearing the two people just not listening to each other, and you're getting really angry about it, right? It's like, okay, how, you do the inner work, and then you think, well, how am I bringing that energy to my relationships? Do I truly listen to loved ones who are trying to communicate with me? Or am I just wanting to make them wrong, or make them be quiet, or they have to agree with me, otherwise I'm uncomfortable, or they have to agree with me, otherwise that means they don't love me, or they have to agree with me? Like, how am I doing that in my relationships? So all of these questions that I led you through before about what you're seeing in the outside world, and this inner work of really feeling, how am I doing that to myself? I invite you to take it that step further into, how am I doing this in relationships? If you're seeing disrespect, okay, how am I, what would I like to see? I'd like to see respect, I'd like to see love, I'd like to see understanding. How am I offering respect and love and understanding in my relationships? Because the power of this inner work, and you allowing that kind of more full, as in FULL, full cup of inner love and understanding, allowing that to flow out into your relationships, creates amazing change. And I've seen this in my clients when they do that inner work, and then how they relate to their children is different, and how their children relate to their partners are different. How, like, I see it filter through families. It's actually really, really powerful. And I think this inner work is a way that light by light by light, we truly can uplift our world. But when we get super focused on what's going on out there without doing this inner work, we can get very, very depleted, very frustrated, feel hopeless, and create a whole lot of depletion. Whereas when I invite you to try this process that I'm showing you. And for me, it creates more light, more energy, more clarity about the contribution that I want to make, that I've got energy for. It's actually really deeply beautiful for my health, which obviously my immunity, my energy levels, and how much I'm able to love my life and contribute more light in a way that's actually synergistic, in a way that gives me more energy, rather than many moons ago when I didn't understand these tools, or I knew them but I didn't always apply them. I would get, I had burnt out, I'd experience all those other emotions that are a lot less fun. So I hope that you are able to take today in the spirit with which it's offered. It's possible to come across concepts like this and interpret them in a really negative way, like you're the problem. And this is not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a deep, profound respect for the fractal pattern that is you, the unique, soulful wisdom that you bring to the world, and really reverence for the light that's inside of you. And I want so much for you to feel grounded on our beautiful planet, open and resourced to be who you truly are. And so what I'm aiming to share are a gentle, loving, yes, sometimes confronting, but actual keys to open up your own empowerment. If you have any questions, you are absolutely welcome to pop them in the box. If you're watching the replay, just #replay. Ask me any questions. I've set aside these 3 days to help you as much as possible. I'll be back on tomorrow, same time. It's 10 a.m. in Melbourne, Australia, for our third of these 3 sessions, which is about taking these 2 steps that we've discussed, and basically what to focus on instead. Do you know what I mean? how to know what to do. That's a question I come back to all the time. It's like, okay, I get that, but what do I do? So I'm gonna help you with your own version of that. I'm not going to be telling you what I do. I'm going to be inviting you into your own, contemplation of, what to focus on instead and what you can do. So thank you so much from my heart to yours. So, so, so much love for you, whatever your opinion is, wherever you are, whether you're trapped in love, trapped in fear. I want you to know that you are so beautiful and you're so powerful, and there is so much help and support available when you open and ask the right questions. And I'm not saying that help has to come from me. There are so many people sharing the message that will just be the right message for you. And so I really encourage you to look around, and when you're ready, just accept and absorb that support, whether it's a book, whether it's a coach, whether it's a teaching, or whether it's following your own inner guidance to just spend some time sitting under a tree. So lots of love, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.